back at the Brandlin. Myself, Dom Skur, back after.
And you know what? I had so many complaints, didn't we? Or people were like, "Ooh, look at them in the pub."
Must be a Friday.
Well, normally it's a Friday, isn't it?
Cheers. No, Friday after work, doing a video discussing. Well, it's been a busy week for Newcastle United, busy day for Newcastle United because a few things have been mentioned. None less so than the retained list, which we were expecting would give some sort of clarity on players who would be staying, not staying for next season. Got a little bit of that, but also hasn't cleared up the one situation we possibly did want cleared up.
Well, I would say probably two, isn't it? Like the goalkeeper is an absolute head mess. Saying it politely.
Shall we start with the actual news?
I'll
sum it up. Yeah. So Newcastle's retained list confirmed that talks are ongoing regarding new deals with John Ruddy and Callum Wilson, who are out of contract at the end of the month as things stand. Mark Gillespie triggered a contract extension, his sort of annual contract.
The rolling contract.
Contract extension. Jamal Lewis, who we knew was going, is going.
Yeah.
Lloyd Kelly, who we knew was going, is going to Juventus. Great piece of business by Newcastle. As for Callum Wilson and John Ruddy, situation's a bit more unclear.
Yeah, and we discussed this off air, and I don't even know if this is an actual saying, but it seems to be my saying of the day, doesn't it?
Yes.
I don't think it's not a red flag for the summer, but it's an amber one. It's kind of the half red, half yellow one you might wave.
Yeah.
Whether that even means, that might mean something totally different, I don't know, but that's what it feels like in my head. That is this a sign? I'm just posing the question. Is this a sign that Eddie Howe doesn't know, and doesn't mean that is he going to get the funds? We know it's there. Is he going to be able to get the business done that he wants to get done? Is it a sign that he's keeping his options open, thinking, maybe need to keep Callum Wilson just in case things don't move on? I do believe within my feeling, not having heard anything, but I do think there's a sense of that. And I also think there's a sense of that with John Ruddy as well. Because there is no logical reason why you would keep John Ruddy if you're going to sign another goalkeeper, unless you're going to get rid of a few, which then the signs are that there's lots of moving parts in that goalkeeping situation.
Yeah. Now,
I do suspect both situations will probably play out this month. I think this month will be very key into seeing where Newcastle United are in terms of business. Going back to a previous experience, I've been on this beat quite a long time, as you have, Dom, as well. But I worked in and around when Rafa Benitez was around. And the first thought that came to head when I seen the news, I was in a meeting today when I seen the retained list. You guys were, you and Jordan, who's not here because he's grafting his balls off. You guys were working, and I just sort of seen it, text message. You were already talking about it when I was in a meeting, so I had a little look. My immediate thought was Christian Atsu, God rest his soul. My first thought was Rafa Benitez and Christian Atsu. And Rafa Benitez only signed Christian Atsu because he wasn't sure he would get what he wanted that summer. Yeah. Having just gone through the Andros Townsend, that's going about really old ground, having signed Andros Townsend, or virtually agreed for him to come back, that man we don't name, the fat one who owns the red and blue store, fat one as if I can speak, you know who I mean, him, had said, no, you're not going to sign a Premier League ready one, even though Rafa then said, I know, but then I don't have to sign one in the summer. Nope, you're not having it. That's where my mind went to with Callum Wilson. Is this deal one where Eddie Howe is keeping his options open and saying, I don't know if I'm going to get, and this doesn't mean because PF I'm going to give him the money, I don't know if I can get what I want this summer, even with more money available than they had last summer. I don't know if I can get somebody to come in to be what this is what Eddie Howe sees of Callum Wilson, not what I believe, or even what maybe some of you believe. He maybe looks at it and says, it's going to cost me £30 million to even get a player who can do what Callum Wilson does now. Now, I would argue that with, and Eddie Howe sees him every day and knows him more than what I do, I would argue you probably can. I think it's a bit of a concern that you couldn't go out there and get a centre-forward to do the job that Callum Wilson did. 0 goals, 0 impact, no help to the main man, Alexander Isak, and was overtaken in a season by a bloke who hadn't scored a goal for Sheffield United. Now, I look at that and say, I could get you 20 or 30 players who would have the same impact as Callum Wilson, but I'm not Eddie Howe, and I don't know Callum Wilson in and out, and I haven't got a personal relationship with him. I like him. He's been a fantastic footballer for Newcastle United to a point, and then hasn't been for 2 years, which has been a big problem. So I would look at it and say, you just get rid and just do what you can. You could sign a free contract and you'd probably potentially fluke a couple of goals and have more of an impact than Callum Wilson. Christ, it's been grim for a year. And that's no fault on Callum Wilson. Like I say, 49 goals, incredible. I thought it was 49 and out. It might still be 49 and out, but I think it's an amber flag. That's like, is that even a thing? An amber flag to say, I just wonder, is that Eddie Howe thinking, I'm not sure I get what I want in this market this summer?
Yeah. One criticism historically in previous windows, previous summers, has been Newcastle being maybe a bit too guilty of being sentimental. And is there a bit of that? What I will say is Callum Wilson hasn't signed anything. Nothing's been confirmed and offered. It's just the wording of a statement.
Yes.
So Callum Wilson could quite easily leave, and I think he should leave. I think we're probably on the same page with that. And then if he does leave, then Newcastle will absolutely have to sign
a striker. Absolutely. Unless they think Willisula can step up, and I think it's far too early to think that he can.
I think Willisula looks better as a right wing option when we've seen him. I know he's not the answer on the right wing, but all his best performances have been on the right wing. When he's in the striker role, I don't think he quite has the discipline to be an out and out Premier League player.
I think a striker is up here a lot of the time, and I think you've got to be in the right place. Callum Wilson has that. Yeah. There is no doubt one of the best in the business in the Premier League over the last 5-6 years at having it between the lugs, where you should be, and the runs you make, the ones you don't. When you don't, it's clever, and I think you're born with that. I think you either do it or you can't. I don't always think it's something you can really teach into a player as well. Yeah. A lot of it's instinctive. Andy Cole, instinctive kind of stuff. Alan Shearer had it. All these players have had it. Wilson had it, and still has got it. It's just his body doesn't allow him to quite do what he wants him to do. And I hope, you know what, at the end of the day, if he did stay, it wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'd still be looking at it saying you still need to sign a striker, because that isn't the answer to allowing Alexander Isak to go from a, how many goals did he get?
27, but recurring injuries
to go from a 27-goal striker to a 35, where he's in the echelons of the best, where he belongs. He only becomes that with less reliance on him. Yeah. You're only allowed to become that when he can have his half an hour on the bench, when he doesn't have to start at Forest in the League Cup in the third round. Well, it wouldn't be the second round, it was the second round last year. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to play against whoever in the League Cup and the FA Cup, and he doesn't have to start against Sheffield. Well, they're not even in Sunderland. Does he have to start against Sunderland at the weekend?
I think he would.
He would, obviously. I think.
Who put the ball in the Malcolm's net?
Yeah, I know, I'm talking crap now.
You're flustered.
I'm flustered. I'm all over the shot today. It's Friday, Tom. Yeah. No, but he doesn't have to start against Burnley at home on the Saturday. That's the example I was reaching for. Yeah. That's how he goes. I know it sounds so weird to say, but by playing less and having less reliance, you get a better version, a more concentrated Alexander Isak, and that's what another striker does. It needs to. We need to have the concentrated version, because when his ability is concentrated to certain times, he's unplayable. Yes. And we didn't see an unplayable Alexander Isak, apart from maybe a flash around the final. But we didn't see an unplayable Alexander Isak for big chunks of last season. Yeah. He had a winter, like Anthony Gordon did, of incredible stuff. Start of the season, he was way off it. End of the season, he was way off it. And that's just an over-reliance. Yeah. He needs help, and the whole squad needs help. But even if they keep Wilson, they have to sign another one. Because Wilson can't do that. Or, on recent examples, he doesn't look like he can.
Yeah, and you've got 8 more games to contend with as well next season in the Champions
League.
You're looking
at another striker to play. You want him to probably play 3 of those games. Yeah. Or 2 of them, and Isak do the other 6. Callum Wilson, on what we've seen in the last 12 months, even if you're playing the dog and duck at home, it's not going to happen in the Champions League, but even if you get some rubbish from Eastern Europe who scrape into the group stages, Callum Wilson, on his current evidence, isn't going to be able to play against them.
No, when was the last time Callum Wilson did it against top-level opposition, is what I'd say. He's 2 Premier League starts. Okay, I thought he had a good game against Birmingham. That's a League One side, Championship side now. You're going back well over a year to find the last time Callum Wilson properly performed at the top level, and he's not getting any younger. The injuries are getting more frequent. I just think we've said it time and time again. Callum Wilson, I think it's a case of thank you for your service. They've got to say goodbye, and I think he'd be a good signing for any Leeds United or
Imagine went to Birmingham or went to Wrexham or something, but with a bit of money there, he'd easy potentially get them 15 goals and get them promoted to the Premier League. Could happen.
Needs 15 starts, though, doesn't he? And that's
at that level, if he's still got something of what he had, he'll score goals. Jamie Vardy did.
Yeah.
You know, if he's still got it up there, which he isn't going to lose, he'll be all right at that level. And he seems fitter now than what he probably ever has been.
Yeah. He's actually had a run of being fit from February to now. It's probably as long as he's had it in a long time. It's just hasn't been able to get on the pitch for one reason or the other. But I think we're on the same page we think, although Newcastle are in talks with Callum Wilson over a potential new contract and he could stay, we're on the same page about he probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But in that turn, who replaces a Callum Wilson? Who comes in? What type of player do Newcastle need to sign? Because Newcastle it's champagne problems in a way, but they have got one of the best strikers in the world. Who is going to want to come in? We saw with Liam Delap, for example, a player who they were very keen on. Reason, yeah. But he's like, well, why would I come to play second fiddle to Alexander Isak?
I've seen a lot of to and froing among some of the big hitters of the Newcastle United journalistic scene. We have our own information in here a little bit, and do we want to go into that? I'm going to go into it.
I'll let you take that away and I'll chip in.
I've seen bits where it said, we're really interested in Mbeumo, we're never interested in Cunha, really interested in Cunha, never interested in Mbeumo. They were both on the list at Newcastle United. Let's just not mess around here. They were both on the list and really high up, as was Liam Delap. That Liam Delap could be one of the best bargains that you'll take in the Premier League. I'm not necessarily saying he's a good signing for Chelsea. I think I would have grave doubt of any player, even one you look at and say is a banker, working at Chelsea, because it looks Chelsea to me even last season that when they click and work together, they're very good. I don't rate the manager. I don't think the manager's very good. I don't think he gets the best out of his players. I think a team full of individuals. So even put Liam Delap in there, I have no idea if he will work. None at all. I think if he come to Newcastle, he'd score goals. Great second fiddle, but he never wanted to be. And Mbeumo, we did a video, how long ago now? Year and a bit.
Yeah.
So, and I went on record saying he's the perfect man. That was a different team in a different era, and I said this to you guys in the little WhatsApp group that we had. Why I cannot really be upset about the idea of Mbeumo not coming, even if he wasn't asking for the exorbitant wages that he currently is. I cannot be upset because in the way that Newcastle are playing now and the way the teams, I think, are sitting in a little bit more against Newcastle, I think they need blokes who unlock doors. And I don't think Mbeumo is a bloke who unlocks doors. Mbeumo is a better version of Harvey Barnes on the other side, who has a lovely left foot, can cut in, doesn't really beat his man, he doesn't really find strikers all that much. I don't think he's the man I would want in that position. He's quick, but he's not rapid. He doesn't tick the boxes I would want. I want to see Newcastle sign lads who unlock doors in those areas. Some of them are really expensive. I even think focusing on, I was talking to a few people that having a coffee earlier on, looking at the position when you look at Newcastle in his midfield, I'm going to go on tangent. You know, regular watchers know I like a tangent or two. I think an unlocking doors player in midfield is the key. Because I think Tonali and Bruno, no matter what system or however you pick it, play no matter what, but if you're going to stick the 4-3-3, Joe Linton is your trendsetter in terms of like physicality and he benchmarks it. I'll get stuck in where you guys don't have to, and I'll set that line that you're not going to mess with us today. And he's also got a little bit about him as well, in terms of he score the odd goal, getting good positions, because he used to be a striker. However, in certain games you need a player, I think they need a number 10 who will play in that midfield role. I think they need, I'm going to mention McAtee because I know he plays that role, but I think he's a risk at 20 million. I'm not sure he's the level that upgrades you massively, but I like him. Morgan Gibbs-White is the perfect. He's the man. He is the man. You play him in that. You play him at home when you've got two banks of 5. Gibbs-White comes in for Joe Linton, where Joe Linton is never going to unlock doors for you. He'll batter through walls, But you're not needing him to batter through walls because you've already got all of the ball. You've already controlling the game. You need someone to use the ball well, and that's where he lacks.
Yeah.
So that to me is his key position this summer. Playing against better opposition at a higher level, Newcastle need a little bit of that. They need a little bit of, can we unlock things? Can we, in more regular week in the Premier League, where look, you might go away and still the on the break stuff works. When you go to the San Siro like we did last time, or Paris or wherever, soak it and go. Fullbacks will go. Livermore will take you 70 yards by drifting past three players. The same goes for Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes or whoever that may be. So you've got those players already in the squad who can get you up the pitch. I think Newcastle need to find somebody who unlocks doors. Now I don't think that necessarily comes on the right hand side. I think the right hand side where they need a player probably is looking at it. I'm not his biggest fan, but an Alanga even. How much does he cost?
I think Newcastle, we've seen the past couple of years, Alanga, Semenyo,
they're very similar.
Yeah, and Buemo. The price tags attached to these players are ridiculous. You look at one of the best wingers in world football. We saw him in the Champions League last week, Kvaratskhelia. Barely cost.
Did 60 million or something?
He was less than that.
And then you're going to pay more. Man United are paying that for Buemo, who Buemo to this day doesn't get any better than what he is now. Yeah. That is the limits of what he is, I would think. Love this to be clipped up. When the bloke's the top scorer in January. I wouldn't, obviously.
But my point is, and it goes back to a Paul Mitchell point, and I know he's leaving and has had his fair share of criticism, but what he was saying early on, Newcastle need to cast that net further. They need to be looking at Europe, players we've possibly never really seen in the flesh before, and go, no, he'll do a job in the Premier League. Yeah. I think that's what they need to do. If there's a 40 million player who has the ability of a Premier League £60 million player, that's what you need to do.
So go back to the Premier League based ones. So there's a little list accumulating, and the people who build these lists on social media. And one name that I'm seeing regularly linked because some team talk crap or caught offside turd or whatever all them websites are that people just take as a given because they've got some.
They'll be clipping this up and doing a transfer story on it.
Good. Get that up yourselves. You're useless, the lot of yous. You know it.
Well, I know why.
Right, Noni Madueke seems to be getting mentioned quite a lot. And I'm not saying there isn't any truth in it. I'm not saying that at all. That was me taking a dig at random places that spout crap all the time. What do you think? I did. I didn't even know half of them. What about? I've got my opinions on Noni Madueke. Have I ever shared them with you? No. What do you think about him?
I think he's okay. I don't think he's anything that would necessarily take Newcastle light years ahead. I think they were linked with him maybe a year ago or so as well, but
not for me.
I think I've only seen him a couple of times, and yeah,
attitude's not great. I think his end product's not great. I think he fits the mould if you wanted to go back to the Almiron style where it's somebody who can cut in and things like that. But I'm not having Madueke at all.
No.
I would choose. I think Semenyo's both footed. I quite like him. But what the hell does he cost you? And Alanga, I find Alanga's a bit headless chicken, but he's rapid. And like it's like, could you put him in Murphy's position and it have an impact? Absolutely. I could see him being in our team and having a big impact. Doesn't mean I think he's top class or anything, but I could see Alanga. He's one of. I was weighing this up earlier of all the wingers that people are talking about and linked with. I could actually see Alanga having a bigger impact in Newcastle than Buemo would have, and that doesn't mean that I think Alanga's a good player. I just think in the way that we play and the way I see Eddie Howe set up the last 2.5-3 years, I think if you put Alanga in that team, it probably would make a big difference.
Yeah, I think. Do you go? We've all talked about Jacob Murphy upgrade. Do you still think that's absolutely the case, or do you go, we need a Jacob Murphy just rival? And I think Alanga fits more that than a Jacob Murphy upgrade.
No, so I think you're saying Alanga to play. I don't know, it's going to be Alanga, by the way, just dwelling on him. I think you've got to sign one or the other. If you go big for a striker, which if they keep Wilson, it's not going to happen. If you go big for a striker, you probably have to do a fiddle on the right hand side.
Do you go?
But if you go big for a right, you have to get a fiddle on as a centre forward.
Or do you get someone who can do both?
I don't think they really exist, Do you? When you think about
Not really.
what I've
Like,
seen in the Premier League, I don't think they exist.
And Buemo fits that bill, but it's like, oh, he can play up front, but he's really
He's
a
not
winger.
a striker, is he?
Tell you who's a good player. You just turn your head slightly. Johan Wissa.
He's the one who could do both, but he's a bit older and he doesn't fit. The thing, speaking to people who know, and somebody who watches this will know what I'm talking about, but people who've got very good contacts, I can't go into where that's from. But the thing that Eddie Howe really does press home, and the scouting team really press home, is age and speed. Now, it doesn't fit at all going to get someone like Wissa.
Yeah.
Even though I would say, if I was to choose, I said that to you guys before, if I'm going to choose one of the centre forward, one of the forward players, I would go for, and Buemo potentially now, the way I know Newcastle play, might actually be the third choice I would make out of the three. I think Shade fits that so much better as well in terms of the speed and his size and everything about him.
Yeah.
Fits that model better, but he plays on the other side, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which you don't need, not if Anthony Gordon stays, which I think unless Liverpool come in with a big offer, I don't think he goes anywhere. I don't think he wants to go anywhere, but I think his head could be turned by Liverpool if that happens.
Yeah, but I'm of the opinion Newcastle need to be looking into Europe and pulling out something.
But you make the point about, you make a really good point on the Mitchell stuff, and I don't think Mitchell's been a good influence on Newcastle at all.
No,
it's something that hasn't worked. It could have worked, but it hasn't worked, and that's all right. You move on. But one thing he got right, and I'll stand on it to this day, when he taught everyone now with a bit of revisionism, and it was anger at the time, and then people came to realise it now because he's going, they're like, oh no, we'll go back to the original thought. He actually said what he didn't say the new players Newcastle United signed weren't fit for purpose. He didn't say Alexander Isak wasn't fit for purpose. He didn't say Anthony Gordon wasn't fit for purpose, or Sandro Tonali, or Tino Livramento, or Lewis Hall. He didn't say they weren't fit for purpose. He talked about the strategy.
Yeah.
The strategy of signing ready-made top-end players and paying top-end money for them was not fit for purpose of the football club, which didn't make enough to do that yet.
Yeah.
They're not making the money of Man City. They're not even making the money of Tottenham.
Yeah.
You can't do what has happened and expect to then be able to spend year after year.
Yeah.
If you want to spend year after year, you probably can only do one of those every summer. You can't do 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And that's what Newcastle were trying to do and got themselves in a pickle. So that's where I think people, the revisionists will criticise Mitchell for saying that. And it's dead easy to do that. But if you really dig into what he was actually trying to say, it was right. But he just certainly didn't deliver it very well.
No.
And he didn't deliver anything very well by all accounts to people I speak to at the football club.
Yeah, it was. He never actually came out and said it's not fit for purpose.
Yeah, you were big on this. Yeah.
Because I thought it got twisted slightly. But he said it's my job to question whether it's fit for purpose. He did bring that phrase into the room, and he was generally quite critical of the recruitment sort of strategy Newcastle had. So I think that's something that ultimately has to be addressed. And you see, you look, even Sandro Tonali, 52 million, which a lot of money at the time, seemed a lot of money until about 6-7 months ago. Now you're looking, that's a bargain. He's 25 years old, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League.
Yeah, when you watch him now, not to say the hair, but it does make you wonder how the hell they got him for that.
Do you want to go on another tangent?
No, well, I've got enough time to go on that one. Yeah.
So yeah, back to the retain list.
Mark Gillespie. Nope.
I've had too many then.
I have,
Well, it's good to see him.
Yeah.
That's just a yearly thing, but I think it raises big questions over the keeper situation, because why on earth, if Mark Gillespie's signed a new deal, are the club in talks with John Ruddy over a new deal? Because you've got 5 goalkeepers. You imagine possibly one of those will leave, but you're still looking to sign goalkeepers. We've seen, obviously, James Trafford being a big one. Fraser Forster's been linked even as well. And
Charlie Bennett of Newcastle World says Tim Krul isn't, by the way.
It's a massive blow.
And I know where he got it from, so it sounds legit. I think he's spot on with that. So, and I don't think was anybody even linking Tim Krul? There was a couple of, I think Alex Crook had a little role at it from TalkSport.
I did a explainer of why Newcastle would look at players like Tim Krul, which is to do with the UEFA squad rules.
It basically allows you, if one of your keepers, who the third keeper never plays anyway, if you have to name them as outside of the homegrown, you lose a player, really.
Yes.
So you may as well be able to name them as a homegrown, and then you get an extra player.
Yes.
Effectively.
That's the benefit Newcastle are looking at, isn't it? Because you have to name 3 keepers in your squad.
Yeah.
Newcastle don't really have an academy level goalkeeper who they necessarily want to.
They'll be in the B list anyway, would they not?
Yeah, but you can name 2 in the senior squad and 1 from the B list.
Ah, okay.
So there's still a way around it. But in terms of if you wanted to name 3 senior goalkeepers, it's worth having one of them as a club-trained player. Ticking a box.
I mean, if you've got 4 or 5 in the squad ticking boxes anyway, it's great. It's perfect for teams who've got good academies.
But Newcastle don't have that luxury.
Never had that for years. So then it's going to be a long time before Newcastle could ever tick that quota, you would imagine. Yeah. No, I think the goalkeeper situation is one of probably, even though it's not going to win them trophies or whatever, it might impact it. That goalkeeper situation's got so many moving parts, so much intrigue.
Has for years.
The Greek, who everybody wants rid of, because I don't know this is a fact, but I know Eddie Howe didn't have anything to do with that deal. That's a bit I know. And I suspect he's doing the manager thing, where that was now to do with me, so I'm not going to play. I'm not really interested in playing you, so he's fallen down as the 4th choice. Goalkeeper, isn't he, effectively at the club? But they paid 20 million quid for him.
Most expensive goalkeeper.
So all this thing, I've seen some online accounts recently where they're going, keep, sell. And loads of people going, sell, Vlachodimos, sell Vlachodimos. Yes, okay. I think everybody would. How the hell do you sell a goalkeeper and not lose a huge chunk of PSR headroom by getting rid of him? Yeah. Newcastle United are stuck with that bloke. They're stuck with him at the moment. Loan deal. They might be able to loan him out and get rid of him off the books, get somebody to pay a nominal amount in terms of the wages. But if you got rid of Vlachodimos and took a 1 million bid from, I don't know, somebody like Olympiacos, Panathinaikos put a 2 million quid bid in for Vlachodimos, and you go, some fans out there might go, great, take the 2 million quid. That's 2 million quid they never had. Not on the books.
80 million.
Not when you bring PSR into it. I mean, how far is he into his contract? We don't know. So there'll be a little chunk off. Maybe he's, I don't know, is a bloke on a 5-year contract. He might be 16 million on the books. You take 2 million. Suddenly all that PSR headroom you've worked so bloody hard to build up drops by 14 million quid. What was the point in selling Miguel Almiron? And what was the point in getting rid of Lloyd Kelly? It suddenly evaporates. This is the stupid financial accounting world that we have to live in. Most normal people would take the 2 million quid and go, yes, that comes into the bank. We'll have that already. Not in a PSR world. It's a disaster to sell Vlachodimos for pennies and just get them off the books. It's a huge problem, which is why Newcastle are probably going to be stuck with a bloke for a while, unless they do something clever, which can happen. I'm not an accountant, unless they do something clever with it. Yeah. But they're stuck with him. He'll probably, hopefully get out somewhere. Because it's just like a bad smell hanging about. He's not going to play.
It's a shame because he's got more Champions League experience than any other Newcastle goalkeeper.
He's a decent keeper. I don't think he's a bad keeper. I half wonder, would it have made more sense just to say, look, we've got it now. He's decent. We'll stick with him. And then you get rid of other players in that goalkeeping unit who you might be able to make a bit of money for if you're going to sign the one that we think they're going to sign or going to try to sign anyway. Yeah. I wrote a story on that last week. We mentioned it on the last video with Jordan. It's not James Trafford. Everyone thinks it's a home run. No, that's not the home run.
It was last summer if they could have struck a deal, but
on the deal, as I've spoken to you guys, the deal was signed. Yeah. Well, the deal was done to the point of signing. He was in Newcastle to play an all but signature, and because of the PSR swindle that they had to do, because of the situation they got themselves, which Paul Mitchell was referencing. That's why James Trafford isn't already a Newcastle United player. And the plan last year was not to bin off Nick Pope and replace him with James Trafford. It was to have 2 goalkeepers fighting it out for that position. And you would imagine by this point in time now, Trafford may well have displaced Pope, and we'll be having different conversations about him already being the number 1 and Pope probably having to find his football elsewhere. But it never came to pass. And I'm not sure if that'll be the same situation this summer. He's a more expensive player than he ever was.
His values.
He's 20. I don't know what I never got a number for how much that deal was, but I know it was done. But it was 20 odd, it was early 20s, and that's what it would have cost them. It's going to cost them, people keep saying, looking at it going, I see a lot of numbers out there, and I don't know where these numbers come from, and like it doesn't make logical sense to me. A lot of people talk about 30 million gets you Trafford, 30 million gets you Trafford. They paid 15 for him.
Yeah.
They paid 15 for him, and they're now a Premier League team. I would be shocked if 30 million gets you James Trafford. I think it's more. I think it's 35, and I think it might be more. I think Burnley, unless they're in financial bother, which I don't know, I've no information on that. I don't think Trafford's the easy deal to do that people talk about. I hope it is, because I think he'd be an excellent addition. Watched a lot of him last season. I love his character. He's brash. He's confident. As well, yeah. He's ambitious. I think he owned that position. I genuinely do. Good with his feet. Great shot stopper. Big, confident. I think he's great. Just needs to get a bit more. If you can get a bit more physical about him, I think he's a top goalkeeper. It's a shame. There's a couple of little deals that Newcastle have had done and had to pull out of and things like that you look back on and say, could they have had him? Could they? Trafford's probably one of the biggest that you think he was done. It is what it is. I think they'll go for him again. I don't think the pot this summer's endless. I think a lot of people look at it like that as well and say, there's a load of money there, they'll just go and spend 200 million quid, whatever. I don't think the pot's endless. I think they'll probably have to make compromises, and that comes back around to the retain list. Is this an early sign that one of the compromises could be Callum Wilson? I think that's a potentially really bad mistake. If that's the compromise, because I think we've been crying out for 18 months to 2 years. He needs help.
Yeah.
And Wilson has not been able to provide it. So why would I think he can suddenly provide it now? I don't get that.
No. We've sort of been clinging on the idea of Callum Wilson rather than the reality of him.
Yeah, the reality of him hasn't been very good for 2 years.
Yes. But on that note, before we end, we'll have a word from our sponsors. Here they are. Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking, and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. So yeah, those were our sponsors, links in the description below. And if you like what we do, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe for all your Geordie Journos content, and ring the bell as well for these videos to drop straight into your inbox on your device. So yeah, moving on, Liam, we've spoken about the retained list. Now, a few people have commented they want to see us. We did it last summer, almost like a squad audit, who we should keep, sell, loan. I mean, we've made our feelings clear on Callum Wilson in this video, and we probably did last summer as well. But we'll look through the entire squad as things stand and give our feelings, hopefully get Jordan on as well, and we'll see if we agree, disagree on certain players and what I would do with them.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we go away? People might quite like this. Why don't we go away and rather than keep him, sell him, whatever, why don't we all do our own squad build and pick players who you would sign? You or Eddie Howe, pick players you pick your players who you would bring into the squad to sign, as well as the ones you get rid of to bring them in.
Right.
We don't know exacts on budget or whatever, but let's just use common sense to think like you're literally not going to bring Lamine Yamal in to replace Jacob Murphy.
Do all right.
He would be alright. But you know what I mean? Like, let's be common sense about it.
Right.
I think that could be quite fun.
Okay. It could be, yeah.
Could be fun.
Yeah. There's not always loads of common sense between us, but we'll try our best.
I think the viewers might quite like that.
Yeah. Opens yourself up, like people go.
I know, but it's just a squad builder, isn't it? Like literally, we're not saying that's who. Yeah. Not even. No, I think dreams like realistic. Okay. Let's be like. So 3 weeks ago, as all the squad builders online would do, it would have been Guy and Mbeumo, Trafford. Like, why don't we have this? Like, right, I'm going to bin Joe Willett this summer, and I'm going to sign Morgan Gibbs-White. I'm going to spend all my money on Morgan Gibbs-White. Let's do like a.
That's a good idea.
Let's do like a Monopoly kind of.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that's our next next video is a 3. We might have a video in the meantime, but that's when we're next together as a 3. That's what we'll aim to do. And yeah, any other video suggestions? Obviously, it's off-season, international break, all that. Just let us know in the comments, and we'll endeavour to get them done while Newcastle aren't playing any football. So yeah, obviously transfer window sort of covers itself a little bit, but there's other things to talk about as well. But we'll be back as and when we decide to meet up, hopefully very soon. And thank you for watching Geordie Journos. I've been Don Skur, Liam Kennedy. We'll hopefully be joined by Jordan Cronin soon enough. And thanks for watching. Cheers.